You don't miss him. You miss who you thought he was. You don't ache because he chose someone else. You ache because it felt like he carried the version of love you were still waiting to receive. He left me for someone else, and I still miss him. Why I miss the man who left. Quiet voice, slow breath, no rush. It feels unreal, like the story changed while you were still holding the script. One moment you were planning a future, the next you were standing in a silence that didn't belong to you yet. And the pain isn't loud. It's subtle, steady, like a heartbeat you don't want anymore but can't turn off. You replay moments like clues. You try to find the second everything shifted. You wonder if the last kiss already belonged to someone else in his mind. You tell yourself you're strong, but at night, even strong feels fragile. You whisper his name into your pillow. Not because you want him back, but because letting go feels like erasing a language you once spoke fluently. You didn't just lose a person. You lost the place you used to rest. And now missing him feels like a bruise you keep touching, just to see if it still hurts. It feels like your world didn't explode. It just quietly deflated when no one was looking. You wake up, and for a split second your brain still expects his name on your phone. Your fingers move like muscle memory, hovering over a contact you promised yourself you wouldn't open. There's a heaviness in your chest that isn't dramatic, just dense like wet clothing you can't peel off. Your breath feels shallow, as if every inhale catches on a memory you didn't invite. Your room sounds different now, quieter, the kind of quiet that isn't peaceful but hollow, like walls that used to hold laughter are now learning how to echo. You catch yourself replaying conversations in the shower, searching for tones, pauses, hints. You swear must have been there. You wonder if he loved you while he was already letting go, or if he left because he never loved you the way you hoped. The bed feels too large on one side, too small on the other, where the hurt tries to sleep. You avoid mirrors some days because you don't want to see how sadness sits on your face, and other days you stare too long, trying to understand what she had that you didn't. Your body aches like it remembers being held, but can't remember how to feel safe without it. You scroll until your eyes burn, hoping to find something that hurts, because pain feels closer than acceptance. Every notification has a heartbeat. Every silence feels like proof. You rehearse what you would say if he ever came back, but the dialogue changes every time, from anger to softness to longing to numbness. Food tastes muted. Music hits too hard. Nights drag. Mornings feel unfair. The world around you still moves, but you feel like you're stuck inside a scene you can walk out of yet. And you hate that the place that hurts is the same place that once felt like home. You're not suffering because he's gone. You're suffering because you attached your identity to the version of yourself you were with him. You're not hurting because he chose someone else. You're hurting because it made you question your own worth. You're not stuck because you can't move on. You're stuck because your heart didn't get closure. Your nervous system didn't get safety, and your mind didn't get answers. You don't miss him. You miss the role he played in the story you were building. You're not grieving the present. You're grieving the future that never happened. It isn't the love that is haunting you. It's the unfinished emotional sentence. It isn't the breakup that broke you. It's the belief that someone else is living the life you wanted. You're not wounded because he replaced you. You're wounded because you secretly believed love was a competition. The pain didn't come from losing him. It came from losing the part of you that felt chosen. The tears aren't for the relationship. They're for your innocence, your hope, and your emotional investment. You don't crave his presence. You crave the feeling of being someone's first choice. Your mind is replaying memories because it's trying to make meaning where reality gave none. Your heart is holding on, not because he was perfect, but because your love was real, and deep down the silence hurts the most, because it makes your story feel unfinished, even though the ending already happened. You didn't love blindly, you loved deeply, but sometimes depth without boundaries feels like drowning disguised as devotion. What if you didn't fall for him? but for the way you felt when he made you believe you were chosen? How long have you been carrying the need to feel picked? Not because you're incomplete, but because somewhere inside, love started to feel like something you earn instead of something you deserve. When did your heart learn to confuse intensity with security and effort with identity? Maybe you stayed so open because you were afraid that if you ever slowed your giving, someone would stop seeing your value. Maybe you poured love like water because you feared that anything less would not be enough to keep someone close. How long have you been trying to love in a way that prevents abandonment instead of loving in a way that honors you? What if the reason you're hurting so deeply is because you gave a version of love that required emotional courage to someone who still loved from a place of emotional survival? Maybe he didn't leave because you lacked something, but because real love demands accountability, presence, consistency, and that level of truth exposes those who aren't ready. When did you learn that loyalty meant holding on, even when love stopped feeling like home? How many times did you silence your intuition because your heart wanted the fairy tale more than the facts? What if the longing you feel now isn't for the relationship itself, but for the parts of you that felt alive when you believed in it? How long will you keep thinking someone else can take what was meant for you, as if love is a possession instead of a match? Maybe your heart breaks this intensely because it wasn't numb, because you loved with sincerity, certainty, and emotional exposure. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you someone who hasn't forgotten how to feel. And maybe the real awakening is this: you weren't abandoned. You were redirected back to the parts of you that still need love, from the only person who can give it without ever leaving. You're not wrong for hurting. You're not traumatic, naive, or weak for still feeling something for someone who walked away. Your heart is reacting to emotional impact, not logic, and that makes you human, not broken. What you felt was real to you. What you dreamed was meaningful to you. What you gave came from a place of truth. That matters, even if he didn't stay. It's okay that a part of you still misses him. It's okay that your heart hasn't caught up to what your mind already understands. Healing doesn't follow dignity, it follows honesty. But listen gently. Missing him does not mean he was your destiny. Hurting does not mean you were not enough. His choice does not define your value, only his capacity. You did not lose a competition. You completed a chapter. You did not get replaced. You were released from a space that could no longer grow with you. There is a difference between I wasn't chosen and I wasn't aligned. Someone else is not living your life. They are living his life. The version he could manage, not the version you hoped for. There is a grief that comes with endings, but there is also relief in truth becoming undeniable. You were not supposed to fight for someone who had already emotionally stepped out. You were not meant to convince someone of what love felt like beside you. And you were never required to dilute your heart just to remain kept. You may still feel the sting, but now you get to rewrite the meaning. Instead of, he left because she was better, try, he left because my journey demanded someone who could meet me where I love, not where I settle. Instead of, I lost him, try, he was not my final story, just one of my teachers. You are walking out of confusion and into clarity. You are shifting from self-doubt to self-respect. You are remembering that your value is not determined by who stayed, but by how deeply you are capable of loving, and little by little, the pain that once felt like proof of your inadequacy will become evidence of your ability to feel, to risk, to care, and eventually to rise, the woman you were before, loved with fear tucked quietly beneath her ribs. She waited for reassurance. She questioned her reflection through someone else's eyes. She tried to earn things that should have been freely given. But the woman who rises after healing moves differently. She no longer attaches her worth to someone's ability to stay. She no longer confuses being chosen with being valuable. She no longer lets her heart be a place where someone else learns emotional safety while giving none in return. Old you monitored tone, timing, silence. New you listens to energy, effort, consistency. Old you tried harder when someone pulled away. New you steps back and observes. New you protects her spirit before her loneliness. New you honors her truth before her hope. She becomes softer but not smaller. She becomes wiser but not colder. She becomes open but never unguarded. She stops performing love. She embodies it. Calm confidence replaces anxious loyalty. Inner peace replaces silent begging. Self-respect replaces invisible sacrifice. She becomes the woman who doesn't chase clarity. She is clarity. She becomes the woman who doesn't fear being alone. She is at home with herself. She becomes the woman whose presence feels like truth, whose boundaries feel like protection, whose love feels like freedom, not proof. And without trying, without forcing, without shrinking, she becomes magnetic in the most natural way, rooted, radiant, untouchable, not because she became harder to love, but because she finally learned how to love herself first. Slow down and let this settle. Your heart did not break because you loved the wrong man. It broke because you finally learned the difference between being wanted and being cherished. One day you'll look back and realize you never needed the person who left to become the person you were meant to be. And when love finds you again, not the rushed kind, not the fearful kind, it will feel like breathing, not begging. Pause. Let that truth echo where doubt once lived.